Previously on BoP Kai, Lorenzo defeated Meta Brawley. He dead.
We never dies, we will rise again. Don't stop, we're in love now. Don't stop, there's so much to be found. We can't find paradise, all we have to do is go, free the soul. Dragon!
Pudding.
Dubstep, it's part of the larger electronica genre, and I don't like electronica. You guys are probably very aware of this. I don't like...
I remember making the exact same accusations in 2010 when I did not know any better about the nature of electronica. I would take your comments seriously if it were not for the fact that so many people who claim to be fans of music constantly excoriate genres like rap, metal, and of course electronica and EDM. These claims always end up to be comically one-dimensional, and I'm half expecting your points to be the same.
I always do it. When I say I don't like something, it's...
The only reason why people are making recommendations is because they're trying to disprove your obvious generalization of the genre of electronica. They're additionally saying electronica is a diverse genre. But of course, you'll say these recommendations are abject acts of futility. Your high horse is calling and wants you to ride it.
They interpret that to recommend their favorite.
Okay, time for a theoretical question.
No talking, F.
Acts as its own...
So, something has less value because it's not difficult? You do realize that there are many factors that can actually be used to judge the quality of anything? Yes, even subjective things like songs. And none of those are or involve time and difficulty. The difficulty, nor the time it takes, are things that don't affect quality. Here, let me demonstrate. Donkey Kong Country had a very short dev cycle compared to most first-party Nintendo games, and yet is considered one of the best 2D platforms on the SNES, while Duke Nukem Forever had one of the longest dev cycles ever, and is considered one of, if not the biggest disappointments in gaming history.
Realistically, you were never gonna get that pub...
Anyone can attempt to sing and play crappy music, but not everyone can play music and sing well. Granted, that sort of thing is somewhat subjective, but I'm sure your average Joe can pick out a good singer from someone who tries to sing and fails. American Idol's contestants demonstrate this principle very well, despite the show itself being a hack import from Britain.
And we hit 2010 and suddenly, bam, electronica has come back full swing.
I have a problem with your problem with rap, hip-hop, and R&B in the 2000s. I suppose people and artists like
Eminem, or Coldplay, or Fountains of Wayne
are all immediately terrible based on your labels. Unless you clarify, your dismissal of many of these artists is ridiculous and alarming.
First showed up, synthesizer.
Yeah, the instruments of electronica are that easy to...
If you don't do your algebra homework, you're going to fagula detention for fagulas. Double F!
To play an electric guitar, you had to know how to play.
And any number of people can go out and buy a guitar and strum a few chords. I can make retarded statements that are nothing more than sweeping generalizations too, you know.
I did it not too long ago.
Maybe you were able to make something simple in FL Studio, but like any instrument, there are varying levels of skill, and someone who has spent much more time with the program than you and have learned the different plugins and functions will be able to make something much more complex.
The piano has always been the more complex because you can hit so many
Comparing acoustic pianos to FL Studio is really apples to oranges.
to just do it on a...
It takes a lot more than just having an ear for music to make a song. Like, oh, I don't know, knowledge of musical theory, knowledge of lyric construction and poetry. It's funny that you're outright ignoring those things and only focusing on the learning curve of playing an instrument. Most people can play instruments, can't write music. If all you do is judge based off a learning curve, then I guess those people who can't write music sure are professional musicians.
And it's one of the most beautiful things to ever hear because it's not quite pre-played. You tend to see little, like, shifts in the tempo. When someone's playing...
So, being able to audibly hear mistakes by the performer is a good thing now? Huh, who knew?
Speaking of hearing mistakes...
Stop being tapioca pudding.
comes.
I want to point out that you're laying on so much false and or vague praise onto the piano. That screams bias. Especially since you ignore this thing called analog circuitry. Analog circuitry is the same thing that controllers use to make their joysticks have pressure sensitivity.
They can't do it.
I suppose it's only true in the world of anecdotes. I'm fairly sure you were probably talking to someone who clearly had no idea how FL Studios works, because anyone who creates reasonable music through FL Studios has to have some idea regarding instruments and how to play them. Maybe his music was crap because he just threw something together without any prior knowledge, which again brings into question your arrangement of The Nightmare Before Christmas. What is your musical background?
There's no soul within the music. There's no...
Pudding.
Squat over your laptop and
Do you expect this slap-together product to generate massive success? And do you expect every single slap-together product to generate massive success all the time?
And yeah, music should have that. Music should have their equivalent of...
People didn't play Metal Gear Rising for Nano Meme's son, they played it for the gameplay. That was just a meme that spawned from people playing the game and thinking that line was funny. Same with Bayonetta, the gameplay is why people like it.
And throwing recommendations in my face isn't gonna do anything, because it's always the same problem.
So you clearly have the untapped ability to tell instruments apart from each other and recognize that they are digitally or organically produced. Maybe that's why people give you recommendations, because they're inclined to disagree and are aware of the incredulity of your proposition. Perhaps actually listen to some recommendations before resisting them in an attempt to say, I know better, damn it!
It's all fucking garbage. And it's really, it's the typical thing you'd expect. A lot of people are gonna throw out remixes to their favorite songs. Why? Because it's easy and
Yes, I can bet listening to all of the remixes of Frozen's Let It Go is repetitive and perhaps annoying. Perhaps you should stop agreeing to listen to them, or maybe you could listen to better remixes, or even better, have some faith in some of the people that are doing the covers. There are terrible covers, of course, but your constant exposure of them gets them more unwarranted popularity.
Every time Friendship is Magic comes out with a song, what happens is another remix of it. And what does that remix always amount to? You hear maybe one or two lines from the song, or maybe it's just slightly layered over. And what's it layered over? What do you hear the rest of the time?
Yes, we already know you're a 3-year-old in an adult's body. No need to keep reaffirming that.
Hell, that's only a fraction of remixers. And that means we have to go to our good friend Google to find a definition. Remix. Noun. A different version of a musical recording produced by a remixing. Remixing as a verb. Mix something again.
The worst remix I have ever fucking heard is the Living Tombstone doing
Clearly you're dealing with an amateur and someone who is relying more on effects in order to make his or her tune more appealing to the YouTube subgroup who enjoys ponies and dubstep, which can be a massive Venn diagram depending on which pony song you're remixing. If you honestly have issues with that, perhaps listen to other songs that sample better. Maybe songs from DJ Shadow or the Avalanches or even J Dilla. Oh wait, you won't do that because clearly you're better than
You said it already!
You all are freaking bullies.
Not bullies, trolls. Seriously, you need to watch more Mr. Enter.
And I'm thinking, you fucking have.
Insulting someone solely because they made something you don't like? You're truly a pitiful human being, you know.
Hey, Ryan, sorry I'm late.
David!
Nano means son.